So hey there guys, welcome to my post-season look at what the predictions were from me, what we could do next season, who's going to do what, and basically what could happen next. So straight into the predictions. Bottom of the table there is Ipswich Town. I had them 18th. I thought they were going to do a bit better than they did. Definitely, I thought they could have got pressure on other teams. They could have definitely pushed forward. They could have made a bit more of an inroads to mid-table, but their team just collapsed, lost their manager, and just were nowhere near as good as what they could and probably should have been. As a squad, they weren't the worst squad in the league at all in my eyes. I actually think Rotherham were the worst team in the whole league. But yeah, bottom of the league was Ipswich. I had them predicted 18th place. And yeah, didn't do quite so well with that one. 23rd place, there was Bolton Wanderers. Now, Bolton I had as 22nd, so I thought they were going to do a bit better than they did. Put more pressure on mid-table and just simply do a little bit better. Just a tiny bit better. So basically 8 points better than they did do. But they didn't. They still got relegated. So I did get one little bit basically correct in the relegation battle. I got 2 correct because then you have Rotherham in 22nd. Now, as a team, Rotherham were just not there enough. When they played Blues, they collapsed under the pressure of trying to have to beat us to get their pressure on and stay up. We just flew as a team. We looked like we were a team that were mid-table pushing for promotion at this point. We looked wonderful. Their team just did not work. As a squad, they just weren't good enough. They didn't get a good enough manager in. There was nothing about their team that made me think, yay, they're going to stay up. But I predicted them as 24th. They were 22nd, so they were just a few points better than I predicted. And yeah, that's another prediction correct for me in the relegation battle. 21st place was Millwall. I had Millwall predicted to be in 9th, so that is a shocker of a prediction. As predictions come, I would say this is this is my second worst prediction this season. There was worse predictions than this, but there definitely could have been a better prediction from me. Their team just didn't fly this season. They focused too much on other competitions, and with other teams around them, they just weren't flowing. And when we played them, we did play them off the park, in my eyes. So they just didn't get a very good prediction from me. Reading, I had them as 21st. They were 20th, so we were 2 places out there. So I'm giving it a tick as a good prediction. They were just above the relegation battle. They were safe with games to spare. Exactly what I predicted if you listen back to my predictions video. And yeah, they weren't the worst team in the league. In 20th place. I had them as 21st, so I only had them 1 position lower. In 19th place, we have Queen's Park Rangers. Queen's Park Rangers, I predicted to be 19th, so I got that spot on. They were a mid-table mediocrity team for the most of the season. They had a decent spell in the mid-season, but then they dropped off again, and they got worse, then they got better, and then they had, at their last 5 games, they only won 2, losing 3. They just weren't good enough. As a team like QPR, you just didn't expect much from them at all. Above QPR, we have Wigan Athletic, finishing 18th in the table. I predicted them to be 23rd, so that is a bad prediction for me. I predicted them to be relegation, so that's not a good prediction at all. They definitely did a lot better than they possibly should have. Yeah, so on from Wigan, who I think did a lot better than they should have this season. Then you have in 17th place Birmingham City, my beloved Birmingham City. Obviously, you're looking at Blues and you're thinking 17th. I predicted them to be 12th, but there was that huge 9-point deduction. So if you're looking at the 9-point deduction, if you add those 9 points back on, which obviously I couldn't predict at this point of predicting the table, you are getting 61 points. So you are coming 14th. So you are 2 places behind where I was. Plus, in the middle of the season, we had the points deduction over our heads. We were falling a little bit down the table. We lost 3-4 matches on the spin. We just couldn't win the matches. And it shows in our last 5 games, drawing 4 and only winning 1. It just wasn't there. If we could have won 2 or 3 more of those games, much higher up the table, lose the 9-point deduction, playoffs are right within our grasp there. So we had a lot better of a season than it shows on the league table. But I take 12th as an actual decent prediction because minus 9-point deduction. In 16th place, we have Stoke City. Now, I predicted Stoke to be 6th in the table. I thought Stoke were going to have a lot better of a season than they did do. Stoke were a hugely disappointing side. We beat them, what was it 3-0 at their place? We completely outplayed them, played them off the park, had a row in a spin at his place, and it just wasn't for them. They just didn't look the side that you could have seen with the players they had. They could have been so much better than what they were. That's pretty much all you can say about Stoke. 15th place was Blackburn. Now, I put them 14th, so that is a successful prediction. Within 2 places is a successful prediction, really. Blackburn, mid-table team, kind of what you expect. Needed more players at the back, needed a couple more goals up front to be able to push them up the table. But that's kind of what you expected with them. 14th place, a huge amount better than I thought they would be, was Preston North End. I had Preston in 20th. So that was a pretty shocking prediction on my point of view. But Preston, I think, had a lot better of a season than they could have had on that 0 goal difference. So they were evened out with their goals scored versus conceded. Just behind that top half. Just outside of the push for the playoffs at the end of the season. Losing 3 out of their last 5 and only drawing 1 and only winning 1. So only getting 4 points from 5 games. Pushed them away from that playoff looking battle. But yeah, they had a lot better of a season than I could have thought. Well done to Preston North End. In 13th place there is Hull City. I put Hull in 16th, so another unsuccessful prediction. But it's a mid-table team. They did better than probably most people predicted them to do. Their squad isn't really good enough. They don't have the players or the funding to move forward. They need to get rid of their old owners and just get the attendances up at their place to be able to be a playoff team. But they have done better than I thought they would. Well done to Hull. Sheffield Wednesday coming up in 12th. I predicted them to be 13th. Now, this is a team who, at one point, really were pushing for those playoffs. They were really close. They had the opportunities. But once again, another team only getting 5 points from their last 5 matches. Not pushing enough pressure on the playoff teams. And therefore lost the look of their battle. Now, they're a good side. They could do a lot better than they are. But I have a fear for them that they're going to lose a couple of players. Lose a bit of their attendance for next season as another team that just doesn't go up and doesn't do as well as they should really be doing. They could have pushed forward, they could have gone on for playoffs, but they will lose players because they didn't. Now that is a worry for Sheffield Wednesday. They may not be as good as they could be for next season, but who knows. Pushing up another position is 11th place Brentford. Brentford finished exactly where I put them, in 11th. Now, with Brentford as a side, they are a mid-table team. This is what you expect with them. They're not a good side. They probably could have pushed on more if they'd have had a few better players, but they're going to lose a couple of players. And personally, I think they will finish a bit lower down next season, losing players such as Malpoy. I think he'll be a key player that is lost, and that will crush them quite a bit. Next is Swansea City in 10th. I predicted Swansea to be second in the table, so that was a huge incorrect prediction. I predicted them to be automatic promoted. I thought they would go straight back up. I thought they were a better side than what they have been, a lot better than they showed both times we played them. I thought their fans weren't as good as I expected them to be, and could and should have been higher up that table in my eyes. So there we go with that bad prediction. Next, we have Nottingham Forest in 9th. I predicted Forest to be 3rd, so I predicted them to be in the playoffs, but they were just on the edge of the playoffs instead of being in them. They could have been a better side than they were. They signed a lot of players. They took a lot longer to gel than expected. Those 2 losses at the end of the season pushed them away from that playoffs look, and just didn't show as well and as much as they could have within that season. In 8th place, we have Bristol City, another team I predicted to be a playoff side that didn't come off. Now, Bristol City are another team who could have done better than they did. You got 4 points they were off the playoffs. They had 2 games they lost and 2 games they drew within their last 5. Winning 2 of those games puts them in the playoffs. It's as simple as that. They could have won those games. They could have won those pressure games. They fell under the pressure, didn't get in the playoffs, and just crashed. So they just about didn't do good enough for me. I predicted them to be 5th. 7th place was Middlesbrough, a team I predicted to be 4th in the table. So that's another. The whole of the playoffs I predicted incorrectly here. Another team that, once again, lost 1 of their last 5, which is a key match. If they don't lose that match, they're in the playoffs. But winning 4 out of the last 5, they pushed forward, they got all the way up to the table, they got into that pressure position, they pushed the pressure onto Derby, and Derby just about got that last playoff space. And just as talking about Derby, 6th place was Derby County. I predicted them to be top of the league. So they got a playoff space instead of top of the league. They got all the way to the final of the playoffs, but they didn't win it. So in 5th place, we have above them Aston Villa. I predicted them to be 7th. So that is the 2-place rule. So I technically have got them nearly on point. So they're 2 places out. They won their last 3 games. No, they won 3 of their last 5 games. Sorry, losing that last game, the pressure was on them. Middlesbrough could have won. Derby could have won one of their games, and Villa would no longer have been in the playoffs. So the pressures were on them, but they just about got over it. Then you have West Bromwich Albion, winning 3 out of their last 5 games, drawing 1 and losing 1 in 4th place. I had them in 10th, so I was quite wrong with that. And they certainly finished a lot better than I could have expected them to. As a side, they pushed forward. They did quite well. I fear for them next season, really. I think that they're a side that will come a lot further down the table. They'll lose some players. They don't know who their manager's going to be at this point. They're still pushing to get, I think, Gary Monk, and someone else they were still looking at. But with transfers happening at Blues, I can't see Gary Monk leaving. He's got confirmed of some transfers that will be happening soon. And this kind of thing shows that the manager is probably going to stay at the club. So in 3rd place, you have Leeds United, a team who I put in 8th, so incorrect again. But with that team, I put them just outside the playoffs. They normally bottle it, but instead of bottling it within the playoffs, they bottle it just before and just sticking at third, they could have been automatically promoted. They probably should have been automatically promoted. They were in that top two for so long in the season. They put so much pressure on the top two teams, but just couldn't do it. They bottled it. They just fell at the last hurdle, final hurdle. Then into the playoffs, they went and lost in the second leg to Derby, which pushed them out of that as well. So they had a shocking season. I predicted them 8th. They came 3rd. Should have done a lot better than they did do. On to second place, a huge bad prediction for me. In 17th place, I predicted them. They came 2nd. They shocked us all. After about 6 weeks after predicting it, I regretted it, and I thought if I was doing it again, I would have put them higher up the table, possibly just on the edge of the playoffs, not making it. But they will still have shocked me into an automatic promotion place. They're a great side. They're pushed up. Next season, they'll need to invest probably 60 to 70 million in their side. They only spent 8 million over the last 3 years, I think. Well done to them. They've done sensational. They deserve that promotion that they have got. They have definitely shocked a lot of people out there. And top of the league, I predicted them to be, if you've worked it out, well done, 15th, so 14 places out. Norwich City. Bear this one in mind. I predicted that one 2 weeks after we played them. That was a shocking bad game. Both teams played very badly. Norwich were really bad. They certainly did not look like a side that were going to be winning the league. Yeah, but I think that they could do all right in the Premier League. They're a side who probably have got a bit of money to spend now due to the promotion. They'll need to spend it. They'll need to sign players. They'll need to do other things, but they don't need to do what Fulham did. Now, the mistake that Fulham did was sign that whole new team. Signing a whole new team ended up getting them relegated because these players never worked together. They were all one players, all for themselves, trying to show themselves off in the Premier League. Now, that never worked. Do what Wolves did and sign 4 or 5 players, decent players, and work it out throughout the transfer windows and throughout the seasons, and you'll be more successful. Now, this is the kind of thing you need to do, and if they do it, they could be your mid-table Premier League side within 3 years, probably, I would say, but they'll be both battling relegation, the top 2, and it depends how much Villa spend to whether they will do well in promotion. So I predicted within the good category, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I got 10 out of 24 in a good prediction. That is including Blues, but the negative 9 points I couldn't have predicted at the time. So I feel I did alright, but I think I could do a lot better for next season. Onwards and upwards. There'll be some videos of, obviously, the new kit coming out is actually tomorrow from when I'm recording this. I'll probably have uploaded this before the new kit comes out straight away. So I'll be reviewing that and what I think about that. There's transfer news that will be coming out soon that I'll be looking at, and there'll be fixtures and a lot of other things. I will also be potentially doing a ranking away sides at St Andrews, which could be quite interesting to see what other people have to say about it. But yes, thank you for watching this year. Thanks for pushing me over that 350 subscriber mark. It's really appreciated. If we can push forward, get ourselves up some more subscribers, I'll be really happy. Thank you for what you've already done for me, guys. It's really appreciated. Keep watching and keep right on.